Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting here in Hebron, Thursday, February 20, 2020. I ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this next section is the reserved for people in attendance who wish to briefly address the Board of Selectmen. We ask if you are addressing the board to please keep comments to 3 minutes or less. If it is on an agenda item, please ask for clarification whether or not to speak now or during that portion of the agenda. So, with that said, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to briefly address the board? Anyone wishing to address the board? Address the board. So be it. Moving on. We have nothing for the business spotlight. So next would be our appointments and resignations. I don't think we have any of those either, do we?
Nope.
Oh,
no. The next item, Mr. Chairman, in your packet for action would be item 6A. And this is a review of the Town of Hebron's committees and commissions update building committee charge. The public building committee charge is currently under review. That's still in process with all the other things that we've been doing in the last week. So we will be working on that a little bit more. Next week is going to be completely a budget week for me, but this is still
okay.
In the sites.
So I would just, then at this point, just stay, we'll keep it on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any issues with that?
No, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
So next would be item 6B, excuse me. That's to adopt the ordinance amendments and the committee composition. And if somebody wants to read it, I don't want to steal all Gail's thunder. Your grandkids are still there.
Okay.
I do have a few if you want.
Go ahead.
Be it resolved by the Hebron Board of Selectmen that the following ordinance amendments be adopted. Chapter 14, Boards, Commissions, and Committees, Article 5, Conservation Commission, Section 14-8- change from 7 members to 5 members and 2 alternate members. Article 6, Water Pollution Control Authority, Section 14-11, change from 7 members to 5 members. Article 7, Commission on Aging, Section 14-12, change from 10 members to 7 members and 2 alternate members. Chapter 42, Funds, Section 42-7, Open Space Land Acquisition Committee, change composition to add an additional citizen at-large member, bringing it from 2 citizens at-large to 3 citizens at-large.
Okay, hearing the proposed resolution, is there any further discussion? I was contacted by the press, and they just want to know what the funds.
That's just a heading.
That's why okay. So it's just a clarification.
That's the chapter. That's the name or the title.
Oh, okay.
This is underneath that.
Yeah. Good. Then I didn't feel bad when I couldn't comment on it. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So be it. Okay. Next, Maple Fest.
I'm trying to keep up with it there. Yeah, the Maple Fest, that's going well. I was in contact with Diane Nadu today, and through most of the week there's 100 and some odd vendors signed up, got the permit for the tractor parade from the state of Connecticut. So hopefully the weather cooperates. She's still looking to get a place to hold the pancake breakfast on Saturday, so Dan's going to try to reach out to St. Peter's to see if they can. Even if they don't want to do it, if they'll let them use the kitchen, and they can bring volunteers in to do that.
Okay.
And they would give a donation or whatever for the use of the building, whatever. It's right in the proximity, and that would, it could either be a moneymaker for St. Peter's, or if they don't want to do it, if they could work with the Maple Fest committee to let them go in there. But other than that, it's coming along.
Have we decided if there's going to be a beer tent this year
Yeah,
now.
unfortunately, in the, that's considered a town green and it falls underneath the Parks and Recs ordinances and rules and regulations. So they would have to apply for a special permit to do that, which I'm not saying they can't do, but the time, we waited too late to do it. So they're gonna move forward with it next year. But that would, they'd have to submit a plan, it would have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval. They'd have to meet some certain criteria, and then we'd have to, we would have to look at it, and before they would sign off, we'd get permission from the state. We talked to the insurance company today, so it's something that's doable, but it was just, we waited too late to do it this year.
Just curious.
If you could just get a special permit without having to go through the
Right.
process, so I'm gonna be talking to them about that, because in my mind, it's not a special permit for a 1 or 2 day event if you have to go through almost the full vetted process. We're gonna have more conversation about that.
Okay.
What about approaching Finnegan's or Butterwell's or Peter Marie's or somebody?
I think she did approach Finnegan's. I don't know if she approached Gina Marie's. But I think I know she did approach Finnegan's.
Yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Which is sad, I mean, they got the outside, you know, area, and it's all fenced in, and, you know,
So they would otherwise have been, they're closed during normal, then things is closed during the time?
I don't know.
They're open for inside in their normal business, but they're not really wanna participate like with an outside type dinner.
And Gina Marie's has that patio too now.
Yeah.
For the last few years, we know we've all been out
Opportunity to
there.
make some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At any rate, this is such a good event for the town. I really am hoping that, A, sponsors will step up to help to support it. They are put in the booklets, so it is advertising for, you know, all the miscellaneous little companies that may not be along the 66 corridor. So it's a way to, again, show support for your community as well as to get your name out there. And I would hope that the businesses on 66 would also support the event because it does help bring people in. So it's just, you know, kind of short-sighted for people to not assist, and especially when they're getting the benefits of it. So, that being said,
Good, good statement. Never too late to get involved,
yeah.
so just pray for good weather.
Okay.
Next is item 6D, and this was a discussion for a full-time fire chief. And in the audience with us today is our chief, Mick Wallach. A workshop was held at the fire department on February 12th, 2020 to begin discussions regarding a potential transition to a full-time fire chief. Attached is the presentation prepared by the fire chief with some options for consideration. So we held the workshop, and it would be appropriate for the public to get involved, so we put it in this packet, this agenda. It went out, it's on the website,
Okay.
or the Facebook page, so when people could see it, and it's here in the public forum now, so.
So I thought that our workshop was really great, and thank you to Nick. I think it really clarified. It is, you know, it's the crack, it is the harbinger of what's coming. You know, we're going to be going from a volunteer fire department and transitioning over the next decade to a professional. I think that's what we're seeing. And it just cries out for the need for regionalization on everything we're doing. I think this is one area where we do have a lot of regionalization, a lot of good stuff that happens, but yeah, we need to start planning on other issues too.
And a couple on that, as we move forward, especially with the budget year, we really need to look at, again, all the options. It's harder and harder to attract and to maintain firefighters, but especially the need for the emergency medical people. And the state, in their ever-increasing requirements and training, make it harder and harder for people to be able to volunteer as EMTs or medical response technicians. We are getting to that point very rapidly where we are going to have to probably put people on at least during certain times of the morning. We do have 2 paid maintainers during the day, but mornings and early evenings are a crucial time. A paid full-time fire chief, we have a part-time chief now. It has worked well. But again, I do agree that the time has come to have this as probably a full-time position here in the town. I would suggest that we do need to do some studies. We need to figure out what all the costs are going to be, how it's going to get paid for, if there can be a reallocation of responsibilities, especially if we are going to have a full-time chief. With that person around more, maybe some of the responsibilities that are put onto some of the part-time personnel could be taken over by that full-time chief. And we need to decide if we do other EMS personnel, paid EMS personnel, are they going to have other functions during off-call times? So this is going to require a little bit of work, a little bit of foresight, and some study committees to figure out just how best to manage these resources, and the always the elephant in the room is how to pay for these resources. So it's definitely coming. I believe that as the budget process moves forward, that'll give us some answers. But also, do we need to, formulate, and this will be something I've been looking for the town manager to have input in, how best to come up with a plan. A solid, short range and long range plan with how to handle this situation.
I would just like to add something to it, and there's a lot of things that are important in town, including education and parks and rec, but there's nothing more important than the safety and security of the citizens of all ages. And I think that should be our top priority, to make this a safe community. People feel like if they have an emergency, someone's coming quickly to help them. And there's always trade-offs, and that's a trade-off that we can't afford to miss.
Since we're all commenting, I agree. I think the most important, our obligation is to make sure that that is our priority, the health and safety and security of our citizens. So I agree. And John, I think you're right on. I think we have to actually think about how do we accelerate the dialogue around regionalization. And I'm not talking about just sharing resources, I'm talking about sort of regionalizations of a fire district. Because one of the things that really struck me, and Chief, I really appreciate all the work. Well, first of all the hard work that you and your folks do to do what you have to do, the challenges that you're faced with, I think is awesome. So thank you very much for what you guys do every day. But what really struck me when I listened to the other chiefs was clearly, and I knew this isn't isolated. There is no easy solution. There's no obvious solution. Hiring a full-time chief is the step, sure, but it doesn't solve the problem.
No.
It doesn't solve the problem with those off hours. It doesn't solve the problem with all the things that were outlined in the presentation. And so I think, I feel pretty strongly that I think that dialogue that John suggested, I think has to be a priority for us because, to your point, Mark, it is the most important thing that we have an obligation to adhere to is a focus on the community in that respect. And so that was really an eye-opener relative to sort of the widespread challenges that all communities such as ours are facing. It's not isolated. And so how do we best help the members of our fire department serve and how we give them the resources and the support they need. I think we really do have to push pretty hard for a look at how we can regionalize on a pretty broad basis, and how do we bring the other chiefs in, and how do we really push this to be a priority. So thank you for all the work and putting that together. It really is very enlightening. Thank you.
You're talking about something that I have said before, we need a fire district. Put the towns together, one chief.
And I talked to some friends who are part of much larger municipalities in out of state, and they have fire districts, and they're multiple times our size, and how they're able to pull those resources together, pool those resources, and some of the response times are amazing. Absolutely amazing what they can do, amazing. So their response time for a heart attack is 4 minutes. But he did say, and when I was talking to this friend of mine, he said, don't have a heart attack in New York City.
Don't have a heart attack when?
In New York City.
Okay.
No, it's like 45 minutes or something. So, but he said in Washington, Seattle, Washington, for 4 minutes you're good. So if you're not feeling well, get to Washington. Respond. But I think it just goes to show that it's something we really have to. It's not just a small community thing. It resonates throughout the nation. How do we? Because these problems, the community 5 times our size has 5 times the issue of getting those people, getting the training, getting people engaged, all the things that you outlined in your presentation. So.
I support everybody in regionalization. I think the key to that is who's going to be the catalyst that gets it going, and who do we reach out to, and how receptive are they going to be to us? Because we feel strongly about it, and we persuade other people, other towns to join us.
So I guess ask Andy, how can we be the catalyst, and is that possible? How do we do that?
You got 2 issues here. You got a short-term fix for the issue that, I don't mean to point the finger at Colebrook, but since we're going there much more, and that bumped the calls per year up by almost, this year probably 200 extra. That created a void that I think we need a quick fix to. We should, I don't want to use the term Band-Aid, but we should do something strategically for a short-term fix to fulfill our obligations that we're hearing about. And then secondly, probably what we've done in the past is put a study committee together, made up of town officials, citizens at large, fire personnel, if that's what the Board of Selectmen so chooses to do, for the long-term fix. And then we invite in, as we did with the ambulance study committee, we invited in our neighboring towns and other chiefs and EMS people. So that's just a suggestion that we've done in the past, but in my mind, listening to the chief and listening to the plectron go off, I think we have 2 issues. We have something we have to fix quick in this year's budget season, and then I think we have a long-term, long-range planning, or strategic planning situation that we should work on.
So on that planning, if I may, when you talked about inviting some of the communities in, are you talking about as guests or as part of that community?
As guests. It would be a Hebron committee, but that would be determined by the Hebron committee. If it was a regionalization, then it could expand to the surrounding towns.
Could we take a lead and try to create
absolutely.
a regional committee?
I think once you form the committee, all those options would fall right into place. I wasn't suggesting we form just a Hebron one.
I wasn't sure.
Keep it that way. I would think like a building committee or
So faster we can bring in all those outside resources, because that may be, that as a catalyst, that may help them also bring that message out. They're willing to participate as an individual, all of a sudden bringing that back to their boards, that may gain some traction. So I'd be in favor of how do we bring a broader audience in as soon as possible, as soon as prudent.
The Board of Selectmen would be in charge of giving that board the charge. So that would be something you could write in.
I think it would catalyze things too, because for us it's fire, but for other towns the thing that's breaking them now is schools.
Yes.
And so they'll come in and with fire and we'll establish relationships and a good line of communication and trust. Because what I'm finding is the RAM thing created a lot of distrust. When they broke up.
Well, when central office broke up years ago.
Right.
Yes.
But it's what I see is that there are these communities are ready to talk.
Yes.
And as long as we come in with
a sense of inclusion.
Yes, a sense of inclusion and community, then And this is a good one. I mean, obviously, fire and emergency services is a no-brainer, and the chiefs have already done, some of the legwork, so a lot of the legwork.
So we have the mutual aid agreements with the surrounding towns, and this is why I was just saying, we need a short term and a long term. And the short term is definitely some that will be, we'll go through and work on with this budget season, which actually starts literally in 2 weeks. We're in the budget. And, but the long term is going to be, long range plans, goals and objectives. So it's time to start the discussions, and it's time to bring, as Andy was saying, it'd be a Hebron committee at least at this point, but we need to bring the other towns in to see just where these types of extended cooperativeness can take place.
And just from a selfish point of view, we almost missed on it was Andover, or Bolton. Bolton and Andover were going to come on. Yeah, Bolton.
Yes.
They had an agreement for their schools. They were going to do that without us, and that fell apart. And those are two likely partners for us, right? I mean, so if we don't get on the horse now, we're going to miss out.
Especially
But
in.
do without us, right?
Right.
We're already in the
I've
partnership.
been in contact with them all through that, and I asked if there was something without. They did entertain it, and I didn't, because we're already structured the way we are with them. We were always being considered, but it wasn't in the paper as much as Bolton was. But what I wanted to say, it's not apples and oranges, and Donna was involved along with this, but the insurance consortium, that was a really hard thing to regionalize with, but we did it, and when we portray the benefit to the municipality, all that animosity somewhat goes away as long as the agreement is fair and equitable for all parties involved. And Donna was, witness to that. It was very contentious for 2 years to try to implement that. And then now that we did, the meetings were like a breath of fresh air. We had the meeting this morning in this very room, and I was like, a happy meeting when they were, we gotta go to that meeting for years, but now we're benefiting from all that hard work. But it took some time, and anything, as you're finding out in municipalities, it takes time. As working on our wonderful library, it's been a while, but we can do it, and we want to do it the right way, and you got to get some fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
You got to get the townspeople involved and understand and be very transparent, and then they need to understand. I know there's some people already out there that understand that the service isn't what they expect it to be when they need it, and that's got to be a terrible feeling. And as a town manager, I've gotten those calls already, and the fire department and the chief and his crew do a great job. And if the demand has gone up that much more, we really need to, as I stated, try to come up with a quick fix to address the shortfalls, and then a more methodical look at the long-range plan.
And I think one of the things that I'm getting enthused about this as an opportunity is just as I listened to the dialogue associated the other day and sort of the relationship that the chiefs have with each other already. So in terms of some of that first big hurdle, we're already over it. There's a collective interest in working together with the way it's structured today. So I think that's probably, as opposed to starting in another area of service where you're going to you can't even agree on what table to sit around. And so I think that's something I'm enthused about as well, that the obvious camaraderie already that's established with the chiefs in the surrounding community, from what I heard on the call, suggests to me that might be easier to get a dialogue started.
Sure.
And so that's encouraging as well.
But we have the problem of now.
Yes.
Yes.
That's scary, some of the stuff.
I'm gonna be meeting with the chief through the budget proposals that he submitted, and there's some stuff in there that we can talk about, and it'll come out the following week when we propose the budget for a quick fix.
And there is economizing, and just a short joke is, when we did that police task force, it never occurred to me, and we are basically regional because everybody has resident troopers. It didn't occur to me that we get police coverage when they go from Colchester on their way out to Bolton or Andover, because they're going through Regina. And we don't always take that into account, but that's why we see so many state police.
Yeah. Well, just quickly on that note, John pointed out a good point, and I'm not sure it came up or registered to everybody at the workshop. But Bolton is in such close, a lot of things that drive what you can and can't do, and the chief's here, I don't want to speak for him, is response time. So Bolton uses a professional ambulance service, but it's right out of Manchester, and it's close enough where the response times are adequate. Where if we were to try to hire the company out of Manchester, what is that,
AMR.
AMR, it's too far away, and they would have to buy a building or be housed here in Hebron, and that cost would be added to.
But could they do North Hebron?
You still would have nobody for the middle or
So I
southern.
know, but if there was a plan or something like that, I don't know. It just struck, I didn't, when I went to Bolton the other day, I was struck how close it is.
There's a lot of other intertwined factors, your PSAP and there's a lot of things that are not underlying.
Well, good.
I would suggest at this point, as I say, we've got the short term that is being worked on as we speak by the town manager with the budgets and all. I would suggest that for next meeting, make some notes of what you think the composition should be, get it to Andy, that way we're not having a meeting. And then we can kind of discuss and figure out how best to formulate that. I would assume that it probably would not happen until after the budget, but, because that's quite literally takes up the month of March. But as soon as the budget's over, we could actually start working on trying to get this study committee going.
Right. Well, the budget process will give us a lot of reasons.
Yeah, oh definitely. And again, that will help key in, just some facts.
So it might end up being that instead of we are Hebron, we are fire.
Or on fire.
For safety.
We're cooking now.
There you go.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other old business the board wishes to bring up, the next item would be 7A, under new business.
I have one thing that I don't, I'll ask Dan if
Yes.
it's relevant.
Yep.
In terms of the structure of the agenda, would that be old business that I mentioned to you in the hallway there in terms of my thought on that, or is that, where does that come up?
It actually would be new business.
Oh, okay,
If-
okay, thank you.
Yeah, because you wanna make a change.
I got you, okay, thank you.
So we'll bring up the new business. Okay.
Can't wait.
Right, without further ado, on the item 7A, it is for an approved Environmental Systems Corporation contract for the library HVAC and town building lighting. And with us today, we have Mr. Jack Cunningham and his capable team to walk the Board of Selectmen through this proposal. This has been vetted through the building committee, the library, Board of Trustees, and myself. So we have a proposal from these gentlemen, and they're here to answer any questions that they've done with the other committees that they've been in front of. So thank you, Jack. I'll let you introduce your, take a seat and let you introduce your firm if you see fit.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us back again. So just to refresh everybody's memory, we were called in by Eversource. We're vendors in the new Business Energy Advantage program. So there's certain advantages to that, which I'll go over. And then we've been working with Andy and Donna and some of the other town members to structure this basically the way we want it. So what I've done today is I also brought some subject matter experts. So you guys are way on the technical side, so it can be very helpful in case there's some technical questions. So first gentleman all the way to the right here is Jamie Sikora. He is our project manager, and he has just been promoted to run the back of our house in our engineering division. And Joe Boisenall, who is our HVAC specialist, and he worked with Casey, who was here last time, to develop the library solution. And behind that is Johnny Rigo. If you go forward with this, will be the electrician on the job. But lots of people to ask lots of questions in case you have them. So if you want to look at this, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go over the financial piece first. We do it that way because if I don't do it that way, I think I said this last time, everybody's looking at the financial piece while I'm going over the measures, so then we'll go over the measures after that. Okay? So if you go to page 2, and just to refresh everybody's memory, the way you read this across, from the left to the right, it'll tell you the ECM, which is the Energy Conservation Measure, the measure name, then it will show you the electrical and natural gas savings, and then total the annual savings. The next one would be how much the measure cost would be before the incentive from the utility. The next one would be your incentive, and the next one would be your net cost after incentive. And then it has the paybacks listed, okay? So, first off, we are looking at the Douglas Library to redo all the lighting, the Parks and Rec, the Senior Center, and the Town Hall. And then also the HVAC, we're adding some HVAC controls, which I'll go over in a moment, to the library. And then lastly, we're doing the RTUs and air handling replacements at the library, which will help you guys out. So if we look at this thing in totality, and if you go down to the bottom line there, so we have this split because the HVAC and the controls is really a capital measure, where the other one is more of what we would consider a core energy project. But if you start at annual cost savings, which is again the fifth one over, go straight down. So it's an annual cost savings here of $24,836. The entire project is $452,045. Eversource is giving you towards the project $89,677, leaving you a net of $362,368. What you'll notice is that number in white, that 58,000, that is an extra bonus you get from Eversource from, number one, combining all the measures, and because you're doing it through the Business Energy Advantage program. So it was a brand new program last year, so they're throwing extra money at it. So if we go to page 8, I'll just show you, and this is just what we did based on a quick conversation. So for the part you owe, there's a 0% on-bill financing available through Eversource through the municipal loan program. And basically what we did here is, again, the total project cost is $452,045. The utility incentive is $89,677, and then your balance is $362,368. In talking to Andy and Donna, they thought they might want to put some money down to make this cash neutral. So we put down the minimum to make this cash neutral as far as the loan payment goes. So that was $190,000 down, which I believe is saving you.
In CIP now,
Yeah,
for the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe that's saving you some capital on the other end also. So the amount financed is $172,368. So the monthly payment on the 0% loan will be $2,052, and your estimated cost savings per month on average is $2,069. So, you know, it's basically a cash neutral project going forward. It's $17 in the black. So that's for 84 months. Once that is satisfied, the estimated, you'll have the whole estimated annual savings. So that's the financial piece of it. And if you go flip back to page 3, so for the high efficiency lighting, again, we are doing a combination of new fixtures and retrofits. There is some savings here that is not identified. The first one would be maintenance savings. So these fixtures, depending on the fixtures, are anywhere from 100,000 hour lifetime expectancy to 75,000. I was at the city of Middletown last night with Andy Bridges, the guy who brought us into this one, doing a presentation, and the number Eversource uses, which is a conservative one, is 13 years before you'll have to replace any LED bulbs. So that means you won't have to buy any new bulbs for 13 years. That is a conservative number, he said. We believe that number is more like 15 years. So you would not have to buy any bulbs, so there's savings there. The other savings that happens is in demand. So you get charged demand charges, we all do, they go up every 6 months. They set what's called the ratchet, you pay that for the rest of the year. By incorporating all these measures, the demand is actually gonna go down. So it'll offset some of your increases in future years, until you catch up again. So there will be a time where you're below, and there'll be some savings there, some ancillary savings. Because you're a town, and you kind of turn on everything at the same time. The only thing else I would add is, and I'm sure you guys are probably aware of this, but there's been a bunch of studies out of Harvard and Stanford where this light actually helps increase employee activity. We all came from cavemen, so this LED is the closest to actual sunlight, so we react to that as human beings. So, the next section, does anybody have any questions about the lighting? Yeah.
Yeah, does?
Well, I got all kinds of questions.
Oh, mine's pretty simplistic compared to yours then. Do LEDs fail catastrophically, or do they just decrease in their efficiency?
So I'll let Jamie handle it, I know the answer, but
Yes.
Both?
It's both, it matters on what. Sometimes they will decrease over the lifespan of the fixture, but nowhere near to the extent that T8s do. So it might be, 5 to 7% over their entire life versus, 3 to 5 each year, like other stuff will do. A lot of times on certain fixtures, it'll just stop working because of a driver failure, which is mostly what happens. It's usually not the LEDs itself, it's the driver. Similar to a ballast in an existing T8 fixture. Very seldom.
Then you just replace that?
Correct.
And the LED light continues
Correct.
for some lifetime?
Yes. Most of the LEDs are 75,000 to 100,000 hour expectancy, and that's a mean expectancy, meaning average. So there's plenty that go beyond that. The driver becomes a weak link in any LED. So that's more than likely what will fail. If you remember the existing, the old LED traffic lights, after a couple months you'd look up and 6 or 10 or 20 LED, you don't really see that anymore with the new LEDs and how they're doing it. A lot of them are kind of one big LED with a lens on it instead of doing 50, 60 little mini LEDs. So the technology's really advanced a lot better.
I would say too, what we found is most of the failures happen in the first year, and because we're part of this Business Energy Advantage program, we cover all repairs for the first year. And that's labor at every day.
You were talking about the 75,000 hours, yet in a lot of the cut sheets, it's showing 50,000 hour graded life.
That's mostly, anything and everything we install has to be DLC approved, that's utility requirement. So anything to be on the DLC list, it's a minimum of a 5-year warranty. So a lot of people list and lead with that. That's where I think the 50,000 hour kind of thing is coming from also.
Okay, well this is in the cut sheets.
Yeah. That's the mean average on it, including the driver and the LEDs.
Okay. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Also in the cut sheets, you're showing a lot of the fixtures utilizing the Phillips replacement lamps. And from what I can gather, you're utilizing the existing ballasts.
No,
So these are all going to be, so you're going to be replacing all of the drivers with
all the ballasts with drivers.
fluorescents with ballasts.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
We do that for 2 reasons. If we came in and did just the lamps, your ballasts are working fine right now. Putting in an LED, I'm going to shock that ballast, and I can't guarantee your ballast is going to work tomorrow. So when my lamp fails, it's more than likely your ballast. So if I'm going to touch a fixture, ESC would rather own the entire system. So I'm going to change the ballast out, put in a driver, which actually makes the lamp a little bit more efficient than trying to operate off of it. You will not be able to put a T8 lamp back in. It'll only be the LED tube. But now if anything fails, we own it. And that starts you back on the entire fixture at 0 on a 5-year warranty.
Because again, as I say, going through the cut sheets, it looked as if you were replacing just the lamps utilizing the existing ballasts. And that is a horrible idea.
Which is why
And I can't figure a word more explicit than horrible.
we are 100% on the same page, because that is my biggest, companies that do that, it's a horrible idea, is the best way you could say it.
You know,
Yes.
and that's gonna be the weak point that's what's gonna fail. You're gonna come out and say, well, it's your ballast, so we changed it, and here's the bill.
Correct.
Because it was your ballast.
It's a lose-lose situation for
Yeah.
ESC, because we look like the bad guy no matter what, which is why if we're gonna touch it, we're gonna touch the entire system, so that way it's owned. You're back at a 5-year warranty, there's nothing wrong with the lens, nothing wrong with the steel body, white and black in the ground coming in, that's all we need, and everything else becomes LED from that point
Is the
forward.
ballast the fixture?
No. Inside each, well, depending on the types of fixtures.
Yeah.
Like at the library, where you have the single bulb fixtures, every fourth fixture is a ballast, and that is driving 4 tubes. But it's the transformer that changes the electricity to the shock voltage to get the electrons within the fluorescence.
That's just for fluorescence though, right, Dan? You don't have ballast on any other kind of lighting, just
Oh, well, you
fluorescent?
have transformers, like
On
in your high.
incandescent lighting too?
Not on incandescent, but on your metal halides,
Okay.
sodiums, all those have got transformers. It's still converting it from your 120, 208, 277, whatever your input
And that's old
voltage.
technology,
Yeah, it's still sold out.
Yeah,
It's just less efficient technology.
less efficient technology.
Why are you the only one that, get these LED lights that are like expensive, they say 15 years and they go out in like 2 years?
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that because of or
Just the drivers.
Is that right? Okay.
Usually, well,
It's not
like they're
just-
set. The LEDs are not necessarily always bulletproof, but they're pretty bulletproof. It's the drivers that are your fail point.
that's also why I mentioned the DLC. So there's a lot of knockoff companies that will make a fixture that looks like a fixture we might install. That's a third of the price, but no warranty, all online. When you have a failure, go to www.whatever and try and get a replacement. These are all products where we deal with and have been dealing with these reps, which most of them are local, for local support, where we're gonna back it, because if anything fails, we know we're backed by this company to get the support we need to fix the product. So a lot of the times you see it's very expensive fixture and it fails, a lot of that is kind of knockoff copies of, cutting corners and stuff. So anything on the DLC has, and every 6 months they change the requirements, where stuff will get bumped off and you have to improve it and make it even better to stay on the list. But we cannot install anything that is not DLC, otherwise Eversource does not back it with a rebate.
Okay.
Can you just remind me, what was the main objective for doing this? I mean, we have a cash neutral position for 12 years, so it's not really the savings. I mean, take me through.
The equipment that, going this way, the equipment that they're installing, and I'll let Jack speak to that a little bit more, what equipment we were gonna have to replace anyways in the CIP. So we had money put aside for this, but this enhances the project quite a bit more. We're putting a down payment because we're getting such expensive equipment to make it more feasible as a cost neutral project. But why don't you explain to what we're gonna do to the libraries, if you're done with the lights?
Yeah, and you're changing all the lights now on the PLs. You're doing, again, LEDs and replacing the drivers on those.
Yes, those are a mix between a retrofit can kit, we call it, and an
Okay.
entire bottom-up retrofit that has the trim ring and LED and driver all in one. Still
Okay.
powered by line voltage.
Okay.
But a lot of the ones on the PLs that go sideways, the
Yeah.
only way to really install that 2 code is we have to install a totally different system because the
Yep.
can is open, can't have an open air electrical connection. So that's a sealed unit, usually with an MC whip. So we
Okay.
tie into where your current ballast was, we get rid of your ballast,
Good.
tie into your feed, and bottom up, it's gonna look like a brand new fixture, but it's all self-contained.
Okay. Now, are you doing anything with the, at the library, they've got all the track lights? Are you doing anything with those?
I don't remember on the track lights.
So just while you're looking, so since I didn't understand a single word he said, is there, are you happy? I mean, can you translate that?
Yeah. I want to make sure that when we go to LED, we're going with a total LED system.
It's the whole system.
They
Okay,
make,
okay,
right
okay.
now, LED lamps that are retrofit lamps that you can plug into a PL fixture utilizing the existing ballast. The problem is, again, you have the ballast, which is your weak link in the entire
So you're
system.
talking about, you wanna make sure all of what's behind it is
Everything is brought
I
up
got you. It's
to
up to code.
today's standards. It's not
Okay.
necessarily a code, it's the today's standards.
But it works in concert with an updated system, an
Right.
entirely updated system,
Yeah.
not just like the front end of it,
Right,
the system.
and even with LEDs, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can replace the tubes. They also make a, I'm trying to think what they call it. It's like a LED strip that you then wire into the fixture, and you've got all the little lights all along it, and that actually mounts to the
It's almost like you're an electrician. So is there any part of the system that is not going to be replaced? That puts the system at risk of not operating in the optimal fashion, in layman's terms?
They are saying they are upgrading everything, and I'm assuming they are also talking, again, at the library, when you're going up the stairs, you've got a metal halide lamp in the center of those fixtures, and then you've also got the, it's a 4-pin plug-in fluorescent tube, which actually you can't get the ballast for anymore.
No.
It's like an act of God to find those ballasts.
Yes, eBay.
Oh, God.
That's about it.
He's tried.
There probably is.
God knows what you're getting when you get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have
Th-
issues.
That's also why we changed the entire system. So back to your question.
Yeah.
This fixture could be 10 years old. So I don't want to put in my part with your 10-year-old part, especially because it's probably a 5-year warranty on your 10-year-old part that might still be working. So it's beyond usefulness. So again, I change it, you have LED, tomorrow it fails, I'm the bad guy because my LED that I said is going to last forever now doesn't. But it doesn't because of your part. So if that's the case, I'd rather just change it.
Sure.
Now it's my part. It doesn't last, it's warranty, I come back, I fix it.
And it's a 1-year warranty.
1-year workmanship warranty. Anything we have minimum is a 5-year manufacturer's warranty. So you're covered on material for 5 years no matter what.
Good. Yeah. Some of the payback seems a little long. 11.6 years. They usually try to figure 5 years as a rule of thumb on a lot of the upgrades.
That's due to the cost of the HVAC
Yeah, the
portion of it, not the
There's a
lighting.
give and take.
The equipment,
okay.
the equipment's the big nut, and that's why we had to include it with the lighting, so that way you can get incentives, and it's aging infrastructure as it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the headline here is, the HVAC alone would have cost like $308,000, I think was the number, so you're getting all this money to offset it.
Offset
And then you're putting some of the money down, is my understanding, and that's not all the money you had put away, so that money can be used for other things. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, it is an 11.2-year payback, but with the money you're putting down, you're cash neutral position for 7 years. At 0%. That's in the financial piece on the back.
And we're doing the whole building versus just an HVAC project. We're
Right.
upgrading the lights, the controls.
Yeah.
On page 8, you had the estimated debt service over finance form. Now, I'm just trying to verify, at the end of the project, it's all clear. We don't owe another 172 or whatever.
No, you're clear.
Cost
Okay,
control.
just trying to,
Yeah. Yeah, they, actually, they just extended this to 7 years. It was 4 years to roll out this year. They extended the municipality loan only to 7 years, and they bumped it up. You could borrow $500,000 a year, which meant if you got 50%, you could do $1 million project. They just upped that to $1 million a year that you could borrow.
okay.
So that was something they just did. So, do you have any more lighting questions? You want to move on to HVAC or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over the measures, and again, if we have real technical questions. So one of the big things when we got called, as Joe alluded to, was the library, there's some issues over there. So, at our heart, ESC is a HVAC controls company. The Energy Solutions Division is just a division within ESC. We have 5 different divisions, so it's kind of our specialty. So that's one of the reasons Eversource brought us in. So what we're gonna do in the library is, the first thing I'm gonna go over is the HVAC controls, and then I'll get into the other stuff. So the first one is two measures, and they kind of work together. It's demand control ventilation and dual enthalpy. And what that is we have a sensor outside that measures heat and humidity, and a sensor inside that measures heat and humidity. So, you know, typically we usually say on the shoulder months, but this winter it probably saved a lot of money for people. So it does a calculation. If it's warmer in here, in this room, if it's packed with people and the body heat is raising the temperature, it will pull free air in from the outside and not run it across a heating or air conditioning coil. So you save money. The next measure, the third one down, is called optimum start and stop control. And what that is with these new smart systems, it can learn how the building operates. So traditionally what happens is you turn on whatever, your cooling, heating, and it just goes on, and it stays on all day until the end of the night. This sort of, figures out when you're gonna start the day, and it ramps it up slowly, and then it ramps it down slowly at the end of the day, and does things like that. So it's all based on saving money. And then the other thing we're gonna do on your supply fans and your hot water pumps, we will put what's called variable frequency drives. So what these do is they raise the motor up and down, and typically what a variable frequency drive does over a year is save about 50% of the horsepower of that motor. So that's more savings. So all this savings kind of helps offset your HVAC stuff, which you don't get a lot for because the utility considers it end of life. And it's only I think was it 80 and 150 a ton, depending on the size.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot
To $85
for the rooftop units
tier.
themselves. So, number one, it's the right thing to do because it'll save money for the town over time. But number two, we're trying to offset that capital expense for you. So,
Dave, did you have a question?
I'm on the finances soon.
You gotta wait?
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
and then the last one is the RTU replacement. So we are replacing, if you look at that, 1 and 2 complete split systems we're adding. That has to do with the basement, where there's a little water issue, I guess. And then those are the units we're replacing. So within that, this is telling you all we will do. So we're gonna, recover all the refrigerant, dispose of EPA codes, provide dumpster and garbage. And by the way, we provide dumpsters for all the lights and everything too. That's all included. Any lifts needed are included. We're going to disconnect and remove all old material from the site. We're going to furnish the equipment, all parts needed to reinstall. We'll reuse the existing ducts for smoke. New equipment will have dual enthalpy. I already went over that. Remove extra fresh air ductwork and provide correct size ductwork. Remove flush and leak test existing refrigeration. Re-insulate refrigeration piping where needed, provide copper tubing and fittings. So we're gonna basically put it all together. We're pretty proud of what we do, and we do this all over the state. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't mind, I'll jump in on that too. So for the equipment replacements, we are replacing 2 rooftop units and 5 split systems, okay? We're also adding, the ones in the basement, we're adding 2 ductless units in the basement for extra humidity removal.
Okay.
A couple of benefits outside of energy efficiency with VFD-driven fans is noise. When you start a fan from 0 to 100 miles an hour all at once, the ductwork flexes, right? The fan is very loud. A huge benefit to schools, libraries, office buildings is VFD-driven fans because of the quietness. So not only is it saving you money, but it's also quiet. It actually delivers the air a little more evenly throughout the duct system. Because when you pressurize something really quick, what's it gonna do? It's gonna go to the path of least resistance. When I slowly build the static pressure in the ductwork, it's gonna go all the way down to the end and build the static pressure from the end cap of the ductwork back, so that way you have even distribution throughout the building. So I just wanted to mention that too. Yes, sir?
How come you don't use a heat pump system like Mitsubishi or something?
So the heat pump system, a couple different reasons why we wouldn't. The heat pump systems we will be using are in the basement. Those are inverter-driven heat pumps.
Okay.
On a larger scale, that's electric heat. So heat pump in our environment, there's great marketing out here for it, but in our environment, it's really not the best solution for heating because heat pump, all a heat pump does is run air conditioning in reverse. So air conditioning in theory takes moisture and heat and removes it from the space. It doesn't blow cold air, it just removes the heat and moisture. In heat pump mode, the cycle is reversed, completely reversed. Okay, now I'm pulling heat molecules from outside through the refrigerant piping. Now my indoor unit technically becomes my outdoor unit. My evaporator coil is used as a condenser at that point. In colder weather, at about 38 degrees, you start losing capacity, and then when you get below the freezing mark, you actually have to go into an electric backup heat, which is electric resistant heaters. So that becomes completely inefficient.
So even with the new technology where they claim it can develop heat to 5 and 10 below zero?
It's inverter driven, and again, there's great marketing on that.
Okay, I've read it when
They can do that, so they're maintaining capacity because that's an inverter-driven compressor. So now and think about this from an energy standpoint, as the temperature drops, the compressor increases. So you're just speeding up the compressor at that point.
And our proposal was like for like, to replace.
Oh, gotcha,
Because of the
gotcha.
electrical and the ductwork.
Yeah,
and
and the like for like too, we're also giving you more efficient for that same style system. So we're giving you today's technology that fits with the existing infrastructure that will be staying.
So the heating runs off natural gas and the air conditioning runs off electricity?
That is correct.
Okay.
I mean, they have made great strides with these heat pump systems, but
No, they absolutely have, but trying to heat a whole building with them, when you have an option for gas, I always say gas, because electric, okay, when we get this winter, sure, this winter you'd have saved a decent amount of money, but when it gets cold in March now, because we're kind of due for that, it would go into backup heat, and now it's just electric resistance. So it's basically a toaster oven at that point, oversized.
it actually wired the building, and it worked. I'm dumbfounded, but it worked.
Yeah.
Because I was under the old school, you hit 30s, you lose efficiency.
Oh,
And
100%.
the colder it gets, the more, the
capacity drops
efficiency
down.
keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
That is correct.
Exponentially.
Right. And nowadays with the technology though, the inverter-driven compressor can adjust to that,
Yeah.
but it ramps up in speed, therefore
Right.
drawing more electricity.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of the opposite of what we're trying to prove. Now, if it was an existing heat pump system, replacing it with an inverter-driven system, now we would be talking about energy savings, but not as much as we can do with a gas electric unit.
Yeah, all the incentives are based on reducing.
Okay.
So.
But it's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
So Jack, when you look at your experience with these kind of municipal projects, when there are cost overruns or things that weren't anticipated to be within scope, what would be examples of that?
So, we have, what I would say is in towns, we usually don't have too many problems, but 64% of our business is industrial manufacturing. And we have a running joke that something always goes wrong. So, when something like that happens, it's usually something, it doesn't have to do with the core project, it's outside of that. And I'll just use Middlesex Hospital. We went to put one of these variable frequency drives on this fan that's a bent fan. There's only one of them, and we couldn't do it, and so what we do is we immediately would let you know what's going on. We go over the situation, and what we found over time that mistakes happen and things happen, but as long as we address it immediately and let you know what the situation is. And ESC is it's been around for 47 years, I believe. Single owner, and it's the son now, his name is Craig McCurdy, and he will always do the right thing.
Yeah. And it was a team of experts that came up with this too. It wasn't just one person's dream. When we go back, we spitball a project like this between the different division managers and the different experts to make sure that we're offering you the best of what's available today without overdoing it or underdoing it.
Andy, are there other elements of the town buildings that would lend itself to consideration for this project and was not included for some reason?
Yeah, well, quite frankly, this was a much larger project to drive the cost down. We were looking at solar in the schools.
Okay.
But
That's fine.
in working with the schools, they really didn't want the solars on their roofs, knowing eventually they're gonna have to do some roof replacement. So we need to work with the new superintendent, get those roofs in this 5-year or CIP plan, and then get the solar up on the roofs. Their option was, quite frankly, just to put them on the ground and cut trees and put them on the, that's not a reason to put them on the ground. If they belong on the roofs where our planning and zoning board feels that's where they belong, if the only obstacle was the roof condition, then we need to step up to the plate and do the roofs and then put the solar where it belongs and not take up possibly needed space down the road.
Yeah, I just look at the financing element, and I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was
0%
unfortunate. We
finance everything.
Right.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of transition between board chairs and superintendents, and it didn't pan out, but the library's been waiting. When they get done with this project, we feel it's appropriate to move forward, because that'll be a state-of-the-art building when it's done. And the biggest concern is their inventory and the humidity that they're dealing with over there now, because quite frankly, the system that's over there now, whether it wasn't maintained properly or it's not working together like it should, and even in some of the investigations from these guys over there looking, they found some issues, and we called our maintenance people and adjusted it immediately.
It's doing a job on the books.
Yeah, and moisture is, I mean, we take care of museums as well, and obviously artifacts, books. Those are huge things that we need to protect. Moisture and temperature is everything when it comes to preservation of paper. Whether it's paper, producing paper, publications, or, you know, a different museum. We just replaced actually the cooling system for New Britain Museum, New Britain Art Museum.
Is there anything being figured for in the basement of the old part of the library?
Yeah, that's where the ductless unit's going.
Okay.
Yeah. There's 2 units going down there because of the way it's set up.
Yep.
And that's where you're having a high humidity issue. So it will lend cooling as well, but mostly we want to make sure that we can remove the moisture from that area.
Are any of these LEDs dimmable, or are they all?
Oh, that's the LED. That's, you threw, I'm not an LED.
So to keep the cost down, the only LEDs really that are not dimmable are the LED tubes, where that's using just a regular driver. The LED can retros are line voltage dimming, if need be.
Okay.
But it really should be changed out to a rear phase dimmer, not a forward phase dimmer,
Okay.
which is just changing out, you know, the ones you see at Home Depot where it says LED on it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No. But you have the 0 to 10 volt, low voltage dimmers. The problem is those are insanely expensive.
Correct. So anything fixture wise is all 0 to 10 now. It's kind of hard to get something that's not. If you want the capability to do it, it's just running in a 2-wire control wire back to a low voltage dimmer. But yeah, nothing in the project I think
We
was
did propose dimming.
dimming
So we
just
were-
to keep the cost where it was.
We were trying to value engineer it, but we did get you extra money by including the opportunity to do that in the future.
Okay.
They want 2 like control strategies to get you into a certain tier of
Okay.
areas and stuff.
I mean, and they haven't had dimming because it's all fluorescent at this point.
Right.
Correct.
But with that, with this type of a project, it does allow it to be done in the future as long as the necessary infrastructure is there that would allow it to be done.
Right, which is why Eversource has the tier. They feel, and you probably feel the same, I get probably, that controls will be part of the future, a big part of the future for Layden.
Yeah.
So,
It's also driven from the amount of companies that did the lamp only that you and I both don't like. It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Now you have a building that's LED, but nothing can be done. After that, it's LED and that's it. No dimming, no nothing.
Did you recommend anything that got pulled out of this?
well, so we looked at everything. So we didn't, it wasn't really, I wouldn't call it a recommendation, it's more of a fact sheet, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what's available. So we did pull out the 2 firehouses, because the paybacks were pretty exorbitant. And, there is another program you can do, it's called the Upstream program, so you can get the lights at a discount, and you pay an electrician.
$6 a piece, I can
Yeah.
get LED bulbs from EW right now.
Yeah, or, whatever we want, new fixtures, it's all discounted.
Yeah.
So, that was the best way to do that.
Part of it also in the firehouses, not a lot of runtime. So they're not on a lot in those spots. So when you have that situation, there's no savings in changing out a light in your attic that's never used. That's your savings, you're not using it.
Right.
So that can take a payback that would be 3 years, and drag it out to 12 really quick when you just don't have, you know, the run. It's a few hours a week on some of the lamps in there. It just wasn't financially feasible to include it.
We're taking out the rug before or after we do this?
You have to. It's just some displeasured people, but
Yeah, it's good, you guys are.
well, if we get it approved, then we move forward.
Right.
Do we need to put that down payment to get the 0% financing, or?
No, you could go cash negative if you want.
Um,
I think. If it's
sure,
0%.
it changes the thing, doesn't it?
Why do we need to give them money?
Well, no, what would happen
That's
is it would still be set.
exploding.
So let me just tell you how it would work. It would still be 7 years, but you'd have to have a big
Yes.
payment every month.
Yeah,
So it'd
I
still
could
be
keep the
a-
190 and make money on it. And
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you can do it that way.
0% is.
0%.
Yeah, right, you're talking about Germany and Japan, like negative rad can't.
Yeah.
The negative part, and that's
Zero,
right?
right?
So it's cash flow.
I wasn't looking to do that, but you guys are in charge. I was proposing, we had the money earmarked for this equipment. And then we wanted to move forward
No, you do that.
with this portion of the project because of the schools and the solar pulling out. That's not gonna go away. We would come back with that other project at that time and wanna move forward probably with no money down there.
We make at least 2% on that.
But the Board of Finance will dictate the financing portion of it. Yes or no?
What's that?
The Board of Finance will dictate whether or not we move forward with the way the financing is
The
outlined.
money's in the CIP, it's been approved for the project already.
Okay.
So the Board of Finance already gave it its approval for the project, but I'm not saying you can't change how we spend it.
Yeah, to his point, no,
My
I
only
mean,
question is, yeah, is there a caveat to the 0%? It doesn't sound like.
So, once the project is complete, just so you know the process, Eversource will give you a piece of paper, and you can decide at that point how you want to finance it as you go forward, so.
Yeah,
It's a form you fill out.
We're not locking you in at any point, we have the powers to be one to pay for it.
No, I'm with you, Dave. That's the first thing I was looking at. 0%. Excellent.
So it can be shaped any way you want.
but the time is generated off the need of the library.
Right.
But
But
that is-
0%.
Been waiting a few years.
You're still paying every month, so it's,
You get the benefit of inflation though, so.
Yeah, so the only other thing I would add is, I think the wait time is,
11 weeks, you said?
Yeah, there's some lead time to get all the equipment in.
I don't know who gave the newspaper article the date that was gonna be done in a couple of months. I'll blame you on that one.
I didn't talk to them.
You didn't know. I told her to call you, but I read the article.
Oh, no, nobody's
Done
talked
by
to
the
me.
end of the day.
Thanks for finishing early, we appreciate it.
I don't know who they talked to. I didn't talk to the press.
Okay.
Right, I mean, like anything else, as demand season goes up, equipment goes out of the
Yeah.
factory, especially when you're talking high efficiency equipment, they don't sit it on shelves anymore, because it's an expensive piece of equipment that's just collecting dust until it's got a purchase order assigned to it.
how much of this product is made in China?
Parts and pieces of everything we use is made in
I was
China.
gonna say,
There's unfortunately.
We're using American-made equipment per se, with the exception of the Mitsubishis. That are actually from Japan, but quite a bit of the parts are from overseas, in any piece of equipment from any manufacturer nowadays.
and have you noticed any kind of a slowdown with China basically shutting down?
Correct. On lighting, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, on HVAC,
On-
no,
on
we get
lighting.
most of ours from Japan though.
Yeah. On lighting, the Chinese New Year wrecks us every year, because it's like a 5-week shutdown. And the coronavirus has not helped.
Yeah.
So you had the Chinese New Year and then that, so there's factories with no employees.
Yeah.
So it has added to lead time on some of the stuff. A lot of this is already warehoused in America right now. So some of the stuff you don't have to wait for, because it is a lot of people are using this, so this is more of a stocked, and there's not so much local, a lot of it's in California, but local to the US stocked in warehouses. Other stuff, we're seeing lead times go from 2 weeks to 8 weeks, which is like not normal, but. And as for what's made there's 2 companies I'm aware of that actually make 100% of LEDs in America, and we've never touched them because it's governmental use only.
Oh, okay.
So some part of every single LED is coming from
Yeah.
there. All you see now is.
Sadly, yes.
Correct.
Right.
More and more of it is assembled in America.
Correct.
So they're bringing in the pieces and physically building using American steel, American plastic, and it's now being manufactured and assembled in America.
Well, that's good, hopefully it'll be a lot better quality control.
Yeah.
Well, after the virus, yeah, it needs to be.
Actually, LED products, there's no standards. It's like a Wild West out there, everybody doing whatever they want to do.
Yep. That's again for the DLC. That stops a lot of that, you know, and they change it. So even Philips, I mean, everybody knows Philips. They'll change it in 6 months and half the stuff on Philips gets knocked off the list. And then they have to revamp it, re-increase the efficiencies of it, and then resubmit to get it back on the list.
Now, I noticed, you know, again, you got a lot of the Philips lamp and driver replacements.
Yeah.
So this was like a real problem we were having. We had it, just, you probably were involved, you know this, it was like a 2-year project, 3-year project. And I just want
They
to
finished
commend,
the library and I have been over there and done the whole thing. So,
commend Andy and you guys for coming up with a great solution.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys as well. I echo what John said. The benefit is when we're finally done, you're gonna have a state-of-the-art building. We've been doing a lot of work over there and we're finally hopefully getting caught up. But once this project's done, you're gonna have new air handlers. And then we're gonna do the roof after that's done. It was recommended to do that as well. But between getting rid of the dehumidification problem, we did some drainage work last year, we had a wet basement. We get this out of the way, we get the roof on, I think hopefully the Douglas Library will be in good shape. We did the windows, so that it'll be enveloped, updated lighting, energy efficient with new humidification updates, it should be fine. So, but it took a little while.
Yeah.
Then the floors.
And I was gonna say, if I can add to that, another benefit from the dual enthalpy control with that fresh air coming in, when it's too humid outside, it blocks that off, okay? So instead of the existing system has a set minimum, it's always allowing a certain amount in. This will say, wait a second, it's 77% humidity outside, close down for a little while, so that way, A, the system doesn't run longer, and B, we're not bringing that humid air in.
Is this going to be tied into the energy management system, or we're getting a whole new energy management system? Wasn't there an energy management system at the library?
You mean the control part?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna update the controls as part of this
Yeah,
project.
that's, we're updating it with the dual enthalpy. And
Okay.
that's
Right.
They'll see that on the control system.
So the way that motion's written, that doesn't lock us into the finance under the 190, right, Donna?
We can,
We can still move forward that way, and then we could also modify that if you want to work with the Board of Finance to see how they wanna move forward with
we
the.
don't mention the
Right.
down payment.
Just moving with
I didn't think so, but I wanted to
It's
make
just
sure
the
before they
amounts,
go
the
forward.
total amount, the incentive,
Yeah.
and then the net amount.
You might wanna modify that if you want us to have approval from the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen on how we.
Yes,
I don't think the motion really locks us in.
what's that?
The motion doesn't lock us into it.
I don't
No, it
think so.
doesn't. I didn't know if you wanted to add.
It doesn't lock us into anything. I think-
So you're suggesting we add something that asks the Board of Finance to make a recommendation as to how to effectively finance it?
Yeah, I was just my personal opinion, work with them on the board's behalf, I got it to you guys here now. If that's something that you guys think is, it's no, well, have to be considered.
Well, it seems like there needs to be a little more dialogue there on the financing side, but would that then delay the motion? Or the motion doesn't have anything about financing?
I just wanted to make sure it didn't delay the motion. If it delayed the motion to get these guys started to order the stuff they need, it doesn't. So you can amend that any way you want, and we can work the finances out later, right, Jack?
Yeah, the finances are typically done at the end of it with Eversource, because you're financing through the electric company.
Yeah, just gonna read it. But as long as you're happy with it.
What's
they're
that?
happy
Does
with
it sound good?
So that,
I missed up on
the
it.
incentive, that 89,000 isn't tied to any down payment or
No,
anything?
no.
Okay.
And that's been
So
reserved.
Eversource is giving us
Right.
3 months.
0%.
Read it again.
Everybody's mortgage, let's go.
So were you
waiting for
suggesting,
cash.
David, that we add something to this
No,
or
no,
not?
no,
'Cause
no, I don't think, no.
I was happy with it the way it is.
But he makes good points about we make
The
good
motion,
dialogue.
you're just saying.
We wanna move forward.
Here's a total amount.
She's gonna read her
When they
library.
say, don't put down payment down. That's all.
The horse is
You guys are good.
Okay.
not moving, so.
All right, we ready for the motion?
Yes.
Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the purchase agreement between the Town of Hebron and Environmental Systems Corporation with a total contract price of $452,045, with Eversource incentives of $89,667, for a net amount of $362,368, and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to execute the purchase agreement and any other documents necessary to complete the project.
Okay.
You want to read yours?
No, I'm just, it's only costing
Order
us.
those tomorrow.
What's that?
It said order the units tomorrow.
Yes, please.
We
We've been
will.
waiting a few years, as
And
you
we'll
know.
work with the factory too to see what we can do about expediting it.
Did you want to say that?
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, did we vote?
Yes, okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And because I do all the electrical work for the town and everything else, I'm gonna abstain, that way there's no anything.
Okay.
One way or another.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you for
Thank you
the.
for all your
I really
guys.
appreciate it.
Ooh,
Thank you very much.
Time to get something off our plate. Jeez,
you know how many times I've seen this presentation?
man.
You didn't miss us?
Last year at the library.
You need anything else from us, or?
No, that's it.
Okay.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, so if you email me the agreement.
Yeah, I'll sign this tomorrow. Get
Okay.
it over.
We'll order it tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll work. Sure, me.
And you can still bring the cannolis.
Yeah, okay.
I wanna come then.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, cannolis?
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Peter?
Yes, sir.
Yours. New business.
Oh,
Eversource
Oh,
was with this
then
package,
isn't it
Andy?
what it- yeah,
They're-
okay.
Oh, no, we're still at B, right?
Forever, so they,
So we were flipping that over there.
Okay.
That part too.
Yeah, we'll do that then.
then I'll throw mine out there.
Yeah. Okay. We have before us the draft agenda, again, like normal, if anybody has anything that needs to be added, whatever, let's discuss it or get it out or whatever.
I think, Gail, you're gonna add something to that, right? Or you wanna
The
have a
next-
special meeting?
No, we'll do a special meeting next week. I'll just make sure Donna
Okay.
knows on time to get it posted,
Okay.
so it won't be. Won't be on? Okay?
Okay.
No, I'm asking Andy.
No, I'm looking at Peter.
Oh, for my thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, you're okay with the
oh, yeah.
special meeting?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Sure. As long as, you know,
Okay, we
Yeah.
have that one.
I'm gonna limit the special meetings is my objective. I can't meet every week, 3 times a week.
Ditto.
That week was bad for me, I had 4 meetings, because I had a meeting Monday
Yeah.
night. All right.
So one of the things
I
first of all, I appreciate you taking the time to structure the time period, which I appreciate. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and we instituted this in the Board of Finance, is I would appreciate consideration of moving the town manager's report to the front of our agenda, because one of the things that I found is that sometimes the things we talk about and then we get to Andy's piece, you know, it's a repeat, right? And for me to sort of have good context maybe to think about as the meeting progresses, I think knowing what's on the town manager's mind first would sort of set a good sort of tone for some of the rest of the dialogue that subsequently does come up associated with new or old business. So in thinking about this, and thinking about the Board of Finance experience, I enjoy hearing Elaine's piece, but in this case, I would think that hearing you first would benefit both the board and the public, as sort of setting the tone for what's happening, and then you sort of build from there. So I would just throw that out for discussion.
You support that?
Works for me.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
we could move it right up to after appointments and resignations, before old business.
Okay, anybody have any objections to putting it between 5 and 6?
You want it up even further than that, or that's good? You want it for a pledge of allegiance?
I'm thinking you are the president. If I could put a flag around you, I would, but I can't.
No, I know.
No, just when we get into the business,
So that's
Okay.
why,
So-
when we get into
Yeah,
business,
there's no
that's why I
issue
said
with-
What do you
between 5
think,
and
Amanda?
6.
Is that-
5 and 6.
Donnie, you'll take care of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
done.
Yeah, no problem.
Point of order. Yes, I just want to point out, we're 20 minutes behind.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Well, it's not how you start, my friend, it's how you finish. 10 minutes to finish, which we can do.
Well, I can guarantee you that those guys aren't bringing any ballast with them.
Okay, town manager's report.
Oh, okay. Right, here you go, Peter. So, to start off on a good note, we sat with the insurance consortium meeting was earlier today, and we got new numbers for the entities for a 5.8 percentage, and that's down from a 6.4, was it down?
It was 6.3.
So we're down to 5, so it's going in the right direction. That means Ram and Hebron will now have some little bit of flexibility in those numbers that they approved in their budget, so hopefully. I've asked both of those entities to send me what that change would be, and they've agreed to do that. We also met with the KERMA, that's our insurance company for the workers' comp and the liability, and that is an increase of a 2.70%, which isn't that bad, considering, the book of business and cost of business. So the current premium that we have now is $447,652. With that 2.70, that raises it to $459,739, so that's a $12,000 increase. That's not out of line.
That's
I've seen
town
it
and
worse.
board of ed.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Donna, that does include the Board of Ed as well. Any questions regarding that? So we're gonna be tied down in the office doing budget reviews all next week to get that done and meet the charter commitment to get that out to you on a timely fashion, so we're gonna be quite busy behind closed doors. I met with the lieutenant of the state police again to go over the resident trooper program. There's a reduction in cost to that we're probably gonna see roughly around $21,000. They did an adjustment, there's probably a little bit more than that, but we're doing some wiggle room in the budget, but that's what we're gonna show you guys as a reduction. So that's good news, that's going in the right direction. And John brought something up earlier, which I totally agree with, and I wanna make sure it's known. But, and with the good relationship we have with the resident trooper and the lieutenants, is we have other officers out of the barracks running radar for us in town. Because there's been such an issue, I know Kyle has done some, and a couple other guys, I had Kyle grabbed a couple guys last week, I don't know if you're aware of that or not. But I asked the lieutenant if we could get a little bit more support out of the barracks as well, and he said he would do that, so we'll wait and see if it continues, but I know we got a little bit of assistance last week. And then just on another note, with the speed limit change on East Street, we've gotten quite a bit of kudos for trying to get that done, and the local guys have been out there enforcing that. And instead of negative comments about people handing out tickets, they've been very positive with the people that live on the road, and they've offered to cook dinners and let them park in their driveway. And
That's true.
so it's, yeah, I'm not making it up. So that's good PR, and we listen to the people when they have complaints, and we're trying to get some more enforcement. And reached out to the barracks as well, and they've been, for the most part, cooperative. Stealing Gail's thunder a little bit, but last week I went to both CCM and COST to get state budget updates and outlooks, and Governor Lamont announced yesterday, we'll see if it comes to fruition, but he's saying that he's gonna move forward without the vote on the tolls, and in doing so, he hopes to get the monies that's owed to the towns for the LoSa out soon. So I don't know what soon means, but that means they have to have a bond meeting to approve that, so I'll keep it to Kathy Olson and see when that's scheduled to happen. Tomorrow afternoon, there's a retirement party at noontime here for John Soderberg, a longtime wetlands agent and a resident trooper in town, so kind of like light fare finger food. It's here downstairs just as final farewell. just to recap, as Peter said, probably if this was up sooner, we had a WPCA workshop. The WPCA Commission will be reviewing the sewer use charges. We received a legal opinion from the town attorney. It was determined after a lengthy discussion that the town owns the infrastructure and it would be unlikely that the users would ever be able to fund future upgrades solely. But what else came out of that is, they said they wouldn't do it right away, but the WPCA is gonna work on a document that we can house here, like an annual report from year to year, on explaining to residents so they can understand the process.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that was a good, quick workshop, and I think a lot of information was vetted. We had the fire and EMS workshop. Rounded up those 3 nights a week, Peter. So we're gonna do a financial analyst, and that'll be forthcoming. Unfortunately, a few people in my staff are out with illnesses that are going around, but we didn't forget that request. Finance director and manager's office are currently completing the 2021 budget submittal.
I will tell you, I did stand outside for that full hour and a half on the streets of Salem, Massachusetts for that call.
Did you?
Because my party was inside at the restaurant, and I was on the outside, so.
Wow.
That's
So, you know,
commendable.
yeah, that's what I'm telling you, right?
You left
So,
the
yeah,
party to go to the
Wow.
street?
Yeah, for an hour and a half.
Kidding me.
They didn't pick you up for loitering.
A couple people crossed the street instead of coming by me, because I kept going back and forth and back.
You look suspicious.
I looked suspicious. You would've said something. Mark.
And then, last but not least, we had the, we had the kickoff at the Hebron Elementary School with the building committee and the contractor for the water replacement. That was a well-received meeting, and they went through the list of requirements and what needs to be done, timing, scheduling. It looks that they're gonna start, at least on a pre-start, on the April vacation to get some stuff done. They're gonna be moving in a trailer and storing some of the piping. They're working with Wayne to see where that goes, but they'll be submitting for building permits shortly on that project. As soon as we get the stamp prints for review, we're gonna try to, as best we can, expedite that. Randy was at the meeting, along with the principals and the superintendents and Wayne DeRozier, whoever was needed there. So, John, there was mention about giving them some sort of request on, I think, I didn't know much about it. You want sections of pipe cut out probably from each elder, some wings are older than others in label.
Yeah.
They had no problem doing that, they just wanted to know
Yep.
some sort of direction on that. So Mel will be reaching out to you as far as that. But that was it.
Excellent.
That was it, so let's move forward. That's all I have as town manager. Did I forget anything, Donna?
I think you got it.
Okay, moving forward, the consent agenda. These items are considered routine in nature, which the board may or may not need to discuss individually and may be voted on as a group. Any board member who wishes to discuss a particular item in this section may request the chair to remove it for later discussion and a separate vote if necessary. And we have the approval of minutes of January 30th, 2020, the all boards special meeting, and the February 6th, 2020 regular meeting, and the tax refunds as posted. So,
And there's a handout to update your packet. It was in the packet for the minutes for 9A.
oh, okay.
That should be in front of you.
February
somewhere.
6th? Did you?
Yes, Thursday,
Did you
yep,
have it?
February 6th.
Do you have a copy? I want to pull that one out. I do have just one thing I wanted to add to it.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 30th, 2020 special meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, so be it. Make a motion, well, actually, what are your issues on the February 6th?
Yeah, okay, on the February 6th, under liaison reports, she always puts down the commission or the board and who does it. So of course I spotted this, under Hebron Board of Ed, she left out G. Richmond.
Who's G. Richmond?
Yeah. So other than that, I quickly read it and I haven't seen anything else.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve the February 6th, 2020 regular meeting as amended.
Aye.
Any further discussion? All in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, so be it. And make a motion that we approve the tax refunds as listed. Again, all in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, so be it. I was gonna say all against first to see if everybody said aye. I did. Okay, liaison reports?
Me first?
Sure.
We just lost a social worker from AHM that served at RAM. She was phenomenal. And as I understand it, AHM is gonna do a search to replace her.
We're gonna regroup, yeah.
They're gonna regroup. If you ever went to a RAM Board of Education meeting, you would be very proud of the way we conduct ourselves here. They get pretty contentious and they're really working hard at developing policies and restrictions and fighting over what's important. So that's about all I have to report about that.
That's called
Okay.
regionalization.
Okay, it's called regionalization.
I have been to it.
I've been there too, I was usually liaison.
We've all gone to those
It's
meetings.
interesting, yeah.
Okay, Gail?
Okay, I've got a few notes. The Douglas Library, at the last meeting, we finally approved a tile pattern for the replacement tile in the community room and carpeting for the remainder of the lower level. And the story times are proceeding well. The Senior Center Commission on Aging, just want to remind everyone that appointments are being made for the income tax preparation with the folks from AARP. So if anyone wants to have their taxes done, please call and make your appointment. The Hebron Board of Ed, the 4th grade did a weather project, and Joe Fury from Channel 8 came down to see the projects and meet the students. So at the meeting last week, there's about 6 students came with their presentations. Hurricanes, forest fires, tsunamis. They made models depicting this, dioramas, and there was even a video. And that's all mine.
Okay, good. Peter?
Board of Finance meets next week, unless you want to add anything, Dave. So Board of Finance meets next week, so I don't have an update on that. And Parks and Rec meets on Monday, so I don't have anything new since my last update.
That's a good quick closing there,
Yeah,
Pete.
trying to close it in.
John?
Land acquisition, again, great committee, got me out of the Democratic Town Committee.
That's not fair, John. You left me there by myself.
So, so we have an exciting potential acquisition, 225 acres that's selling for close to $500,000 on Airline Trail. Beautiful land. We're gonna apply for a grant, which would be 60% paid. So it would come at $200,000. And that will be coming to us, I think, next time, do you think, the motion?
I don't know, I forwarded Frank Zickis's motions, so we'll work on that next week. Yeah, if that's, Mike's gonna work on the grant, we'd have to approve the putting out for that, so yeah, we'll put that on the next agenda. I think, we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're talking about $1,000 an acre for us, for pristine wildlife type habitat.
So that grant, is that something that's, we're gonna definitely get, or we have to apply and wait?
We have to apply, we'll find out in November, but Jim Cilio's handling the sale, and the buyers, the sellers said don't wait.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Wow, exciting.
Are there any good trees on that land?
There's tons of trees, but don't you think about cutting them down.
What if it's for a table for the town?
You can have one tree, Mark. You can have
Okay, can I have one tree?
You can have one tree.
I've seen owls there.
Okay.
I've been through there.
That's awesome.
Anyways.
Okay, Hebron Historic Properties, again, the big thing is the Rosie the Riveter They're starting to get their act together. That actually will be coming to fruition, and the event has already been scheduled. I want to say in August, so they need to start moving on that. On that, fire department, we all were at the special meeting the other night, so nothing different on that. And they're going to be at the Maple Fest, so again, everybody, Maple Fest. Be there, whatever.
Freezing.
And that's all I have. And Andy?
I'm proud to announce that the RAM facility, or the project, is out to bid.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that was, DOT was once again holding us up there, but we worked with them and we got it out to bid. Luke's put that out to bid 2 days ago, Donna? Or was it Tuesday?
I think we did Tuesday.
Tuesday. So it's out to bid. I still feel confident that we'll get some decent bidders at this point in time. It was a couple weeks later than we wanted it to be, but dealing with the entities that we're happy to have it out. And we have a walkthrough schedule. I'm not sure what that date is for the contractors, and then a bid opening. So hopefully we'll see where that comes in, and get that project, another one long-term project on my plate. So it'd be nice to get some of these things moving, so we get them completed, so we can put some new projects on the plate.
Is there a safe place for me to stand while I'm doing traffic in this new plan?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
There is?
Yeah.
Okay. No, we consulted me. I want a safe place to stand.
Okay.
All right.
Let me just comment on the police report for January. Again, this is no violent crime, right, basically. De minimis numbers of incidents, and just showing what a safe place Hebron is.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Due to the work of the police, of
Due
course.
to Mark Rivera, he scared away
All the bad guys.
all the bad guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, motion for adjournment? All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Aye.
All those who want to stay?
You know what, we made a